Larry Mack here with Lawrence Gowan of STYX. Lawrence, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Good. Yes, Gowan is correct. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. And is it Mac or Make?
It's Make, no Mac. But a pleasure to chat with you again. We talked a couple years ago,
Yeah,
right before you released Crash of the Crown.
right. That's correct. That's right. Just before. And so it's good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. And this whole Zoom thing now, we can do these interviews where we can see each other instead of hearing just a disembodied voice.
It's great on the one hand, and on the other hand, it means that I have to get up and brush my teeth a bit earlier in the day.
Me too. Me too. Hey, so you're going to be up in
That's
Phoenix
all right.
on Thursday, February 22nd, and Friday, February 23rd, the two nights back to back at the Celebrity Theater in the Round.
Yeah.
You guys have played there before. What do you think of that stage? Does it give you a little seasick when you're playing on it?
Well, no, quite honestly, we love that stage. That's one of the few in the round venues that still exists on planet Earth. I was always a huge cheering squad for the revolving stage. Years ago in Toronto, which is where I'm from, there was a phenomenal venue called the Ontario Place Forum, and the stage revolved, and it had 9,000 seats around it, and that became one of my all-time favorite venues. So when I first, 25 years ago, when I joined STYX, one of the earliest shows we did was at the Celebrity Theater, and that feeling of being back in the round and being with a band of the caliber of STYX, and just the close proximity of the audience. And there's so many factors there. Someone once shot a YouTube video there. It would be in January of 2020, funny enough, before we'd gone off the road, where I did an impromptu tribute to Neil Peart of Rush doing Limelight, and someone sent me the clip of it again the other day, and it's like nearly 1 million people have watched that clip from the Celebrity Theater. So it's it has a multi layers of significance to me personally when we play there, and for the band, it's a gas.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite venues because no seat is really bad. It's a
There's
great
not a
place.
bad seat. No, there's not one bad seat in that venue. There's not one bad seat at all.
So when you play that, it's a little bit of a smaller arena than what I've seen you guys play in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So you're playing there two nights in a row.
Yeah.
Do you guys stick with the same set both nights, or do you change it up a little bit for nights like that?
We change at least by one or two songs. Right now, we're in the midst of doing our residency here at the Venetian in Las Vegas. And that's one of the beauties of the early part of the year is when we have multiple nights in places, we're able to switch up the set by 2 or 3 songs per night. So you get a deeper kind of, for example, we've played last couple of nights, we put in Queen of Spades, which we haven't played in over 10 years. Great piece of music, revolving some of the current things that we've done. And basically, I think we also played Man in the Wilderness the other night, which we haven't done in a little while. And just seeing how so much of the audience now, many of their favorite songs, STYX songs, are not necessarily the singles or the ones that have been played on the radio, millions of times, but instead some of the album tracks that have really, they've personalized over the years.
How do you pick those songs?
Well, this is a process, Larry, that I have chosen many years ago to excuse myself from, because but the first 5 years I was in the band, I would get very much involved in choosing the set list. Now I just leave it to whoever wants to get heavily involved. Sorry, I can't turn these notifications off. Whoever wants to get heavily involved in doing that. I like coming out on stage, looking at the menu of songs that we're going to play, and being kind of pleasantly surprised and going, oh, it's a good thing we kept that one up to shape. Some of the ones, like, for example, Queen of Spades, that we haven't played for 10 years, we need to go into rehearsal for those ones again to bring them up to speed. And I love when people will suddenly say, are you going to play? And then when we actually do it, the reaction is always a great surprise. And I think they feel that we did it just for them.
And those fans, they absolutely love that when they hear that, when you play a deeper song, they're like, oh, I haven't, you can see the excitement in people's faces.
I'm the same way when I go to a concert. I'm exactly the same way. I went to see Peter Gabriel recently, and I know he's going to play Sledgehammer. I know he's going to play, but there were a couple of new things that I'd heard by him on YouTube that I was really hoping he would play, and he did. And so yeah, there's a great elation in that moment of like, well, there's one I really wanted to hear that wasn't an obvious choice, and that's just another great aspect of what a rock concert can do for your overall.
Is that fun for you when you actually get the set list, ahead of time and go, all right, we got to learn this one. How do you learn it? Especially with some of those songs that maybe before you join the band, do you have to go listen to the album again, or is there sheet music, or
I
because
do I do both. What I do, well, I play all the songs by ear, but what I do both. Usually, I take the song to my hotel room. Put the camera down for a second. Get on my piano here,
oh wow.
and begin to recarve the song, because you never fully learn any piece of music. There's always some nuance to it that you bring in every performance, and something that you want to improve for the next time. So um, take, for example, Man in the Wilderness. So I have to go through that on a couple of levels. One is, get my harmonies back into where they're supposed to be. Go back and listen to the original, because that still is the ultimate roadmap as to how the song goes. Then go and listen to one or two of our best live versions of it to hear what we were doing right. And those are usually provided to me by our front of house sound man. And then basically make sure that my keyboards, since that's my part, that all of the programs that I've got that involve that song are in place. So I got to make sure I have the match strike at the beginning of the song, and the piano cascade that kicks it off, and those little items have to be. I just have to do a little checklist to make sure that they're all still intact and ready to go.
So we talked about it briefly at the beginning of the interview. Crash of the Crown was released back in 21.
Yeah.
It's been now, we're in 2024. Any new music on the horizon for STYX?
There's quite a bit of new music on the horizon. In fact, we go into probably our fourth writing session at the end of this month, at the end of February. Sorry, at the end of February, and we will start recording. Very likely start some recording at the beginning of March, and it'll. This is such an intense year, Larry, for touring, because, as you know, we're doing the big blockbuster summer tour as us and Foreigner, with our special guest John Waite, and so there's a lot of the focus this year is on that tour, because it keeps extending, because the shows are doing remarkably well, and are selling remarkably well. So we find these little islands of opportunity of time in between to do the recording. And what we're hoping is that we have something brand new by 2025. I can never promise that, because it comes down to whether we can find those little slots of time to do it. And of course, we need to be really thoroughly convinced ourselves that it's worthy of release. And as we have, particularly with the Mission and Crash of the Crown, before we'll let the public rip into it.
Well, speaking of Crash of the Crown, we were talking about this off air. That album actually did really well for you guys.
First time that we've had a #1 Billboard on the rock album chart. I think it's the first time a STYX album may have entered at #1. I mean, they've had several in the past that got to that number, but it actually entered at #1 after 2 weeks of being released, and we were very elated by that, because it meant that, particularly the younger faction of people, I'll pick an arbitrary number, people under 40 who weren't even born in the classic rock era, how much they've embraced the band right from the beginning to our present state, and how hungry they are to have something that's concurrent with their lives. So yeah, that's very, very gratifying to see.
So, well, you're on stage, you're looking out in the crowd. You obviously see a lot of the audience that's probably been with the band from the beginning.
Every
But
night.
then you go to a show, and I've been to quite a few STYX shows, and I'll see people there younger than me. And
Yeah.
how does it feel as a musician to look out at that crowd and go, "Oh, they weren't born when"?
I want to go up and shake every one of their hands individually and say, thank you for having such great taste in rock music. No, honestly, it underscores yet again how misguided, I suppose we were. I don't want to say wrong, but we were. I grew up always believing that the music that we were listening to was very, very transient because we really went from one album to the next, and we'd have our favorites, but we kind of assumed that since all rock music in some way would fall under the popular music heading, let's put it that way, that it would have a short shelf life. And here we are, we're 70 years into the rock era and it's still alive. Now, new music has come along that has overtaken the top of the charts, rap and hip hop and other genres of music. Even country has made this crazy, incredible resurgence. However, classic rock has established itself as the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century. And to really underscore that, when you see generations, as I was just referring to, generations that weren't even born in that era that have embraced it and have it as part of their own soundtrack, it's very akin to, I'll put my little music historian hat on here. It's very much akin to how people, well after Tchaikovsky or in the classic era, Beethoven, or even up until the early 1900s with Gershwin or Louis Armstrong, how their brand of music, their style of music was embraced by future generations because it held up. It held its authenticity and it's validated by the fact that it's stood the test of time. So those younger people are just putting their stamp of authenticity, I suppose, on the fact that this music is worthy of continuing to play.
And different memories for them than say for me. Like I was at an event and we were playing Renegade, okay, on the radio, and this guy about, I won't say how much younger than me, but much younger than me comes up. He goes, man, I remember this song in high school. And I'm looking at him, no, you don't. And he goes, yeah, Guitar Hero or something like that. And I went,
Right.
okay, he learned about it a different way than I did. I had
And
the cassette.
that's excellent. Yes, that's precisely what I'm referring to. There are even young people who take Renegade, for example. There are even young people that come up and go, "Yeah, I've been listening to that song for like 20 years now." And you're like, "Okay, but it's about 45 years old." Um, okay, yeah, because I heard it at the Pittsburgh Steelers game. They played it in the fourth quarter. I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
Shazam and going like, I gotta hear this. So that can be the seed that suddenly gets planted in their mind to where they begin to unravel that the history of not just that song but the whole genre of or the whole STYX classic catalog and begin there. This is the one great aspect, I think, of the digital age, is that instantly being able to refer to something from the past. If you want to suddenly know, I keep hearing people talk about whatever, Led Zeppelin, and within seconds you can go, wow, that's an amazing song. And then next thing you know, you're listening to Led Zeppelin 2, and then you're jumping into, Physical Graffiti, or, and then you're jumping over to hear early Queen and STYX and Genesis and all of that. And that's great. You don't have to spend hours in the going through the bins in the music stores, although that's was always one of my favorite things to do,
me
was
too.
to discover anything, but it's for younger people. They want that instant access to anything that happens to cross their interest.
I got one more question for you. Obviously, you guys are going to be performing in Phoenix on February 22nd and 23rd at the Great Celebrity Theater, one of my favorite venues. But a lot of people, we were talking about how memories, music, and the whole thing. For me, I'm not a musician. I use music as my escape from the real world.
Great.
I'm sure that as a musician, you use music as an escape from the real world, but also it's part of your job. What does Lawrence Gowan do when he's not in STYX and he's not thinking about music? Do you have a hobby outside or something that just helps you relax, that something different?
Great question, Larry. It evolves with where you are in life. It used to be, I'm the only Canadian in the band. It used to be that I would go and play hockey all the time. I played hockey growing up, and I love skating, etc. But then at a certain point, where the injuries began to be threatened the next concert we'd be playing, I thought, I think I'm going to have to be, and this is an unusual word in rock music, but I have to be a little bit sensible and 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 face the reality that if I want to continue playing music, I think my first love is music. And for example, to answer your question, I'm trying to see if we can see out the window here. You know, we had a night off last night. Let me see if that comes in. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So Todd and I immediately went across the street there and saw the Beatles, the Love, right?
Oh wow. Okay.
Love. That's the eighth time that I've seen it. I think it's probably that for Todd as well. Todd Circuman, our drummer. And quite honestly, most of my uh, away time is just listening to other music and letting it do to me what you just described that it does for you. As I said, you know, I saw Peter Gabriel when we were had a little bit of time off last September. Prior to that, I saw Genesis earlier last year. I saw Elton John right before the pandemic. So going to a concert is my favorite form of entertainment when I'm not giving them. So there you go.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because I talked to a couple of the musicians in the past where it was a guitar player, and he was saying, "I'll go to a show, but sometimes I find myself critiquing the guitar player on stage, so it ends up not being fun for me." Are you able to let go of that if you see a keyboardist or a singer and just enjoy the moment, or or maybe even take, "I like what I like what he or she did there."
It's usually it's something that I've liked already. I'll give you but however, okay, so my son is a professional musician as well, and he's a metal drummer, and I would go to a lot of concerts with him if I had the opportunity. So I might know one band of the three, let's say, that are on the bill. So yes, if I don't know the band and I'm not waiting for a certain song, you can't help but to somewhat critique how the presentation is going is one of them for me, and just how. But at metal shows, God, the musicians are so proficient. I'm usually blown away by their skills. So, you know, yeah, if there happens to be keyboards, I'll not critique their technique, but usually what they've contributed to the overall presentation is usually what I'm looking at, and kind of trying to analyze the band as a band more so than individual members. That's just the way I go at it.
All right. Well, Styx is going to be in Phoenix on February 22nd and 23rd at the Celebrity Theater. We're talking with Lawrence Gowan of Styx. And Lawrence, what can people expect on those two nights when they go to the show, if they've
Well,
never seen a Styx show before?
great thing is this. Well, first of all, you're going to see Sticks in the round, so there's not a bad seat there. You're up close, even if you're and people in the front row are up too close almost. And but the great thing about this series of concerts we do in the early part of the year is they're longer because we can play more music. You know, we're the only ones on the bill, and we can go deeper into the albums, and there'll be a different set list between the two nights. Obviously, on every night you're going to hear, as we said, Renegade, and you're going to hear Fooling Yourself and Come Sail Away and Grand Illusion and Too Much Time in My Hands. And, yeah, Blue Collar Man. Those are in every show. They have to be, and those are the center of the show. But there'll be one or two newer things. There will be a couple of surprise things that people are probably not expecting to hear. And generally, it'll just be the epic Styx adventure that we somehow are able to pull out of the hat every single time we go on stage.
All right, Lawrence. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you're in Vegas, so have fun. Don't lose too much money while you're there.
Big night tonight. I'm being careful in that regard. That's not one of my hobbies, losing money. But no, big night tonight because there's one very special thing that's going on actually during this residency. I got to know the Liberace Foundation people, and they last year made this generous offer where I could use one of Liberace's pianos on stage. And
Seriously.
we'll be doing that tonight. Yes.
Wow. Congratulations. That is awesome.
It is fantastic, actually. Yeah.
If people want to find out more details about Styx and what you guys are doing, is it styxworld.com?
Correct. Go to STYXworld.com. The Facebook page is a very good conduit for finding out lots of quick information. But then you can really go down that whole rabbit hole. The Instagram thing is great. There's all separate websites and all kinds of. But STYXworld.com is where to go. And I believe and look for the blue little check mark that tells you that it's the authentic site.
Yeah, instead of one of the imposters.
And there's a few out there. Yeah.
Well, Lawrence, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, February 22nd and 23rd up in Phoenix at the Celebrity Theater in the Round, STYX in concert. I appreciate you taking time.
Larry, great to talk to you again. And yeah, looking forward to Phoenix as always, just a few days away.